First of all, thank you for having me here at Jacksonville State. My name is Michael Rogers. This is my portfolio presentation for my add-on Master's Certificate in Administration, Fall 2015. The first thing that I did that was, to me, phenomenal because I had no clue was the Management of the Learning Organization class, IL 555. Now, the different things that I learned, the programming on how to do budgeting. When we went into meetings to discuss staff, I didn't know. I had no clue that I thought a teacher made $48,000, $49,000. And then I learned in the meetings that you have to include fringe benefits when they give you the budget. You have to include everything else. That was something that I was curious in. It excited me to learn about it. And also other things that were in the part were the checks and balances that you had to do. When I turn in money for a program, I have to sign a book. The person who receives the money signs the book, and we all have to be on the same page to make sure all the money is accounted for, and it has to be turned in every day. I never learned that out of all the other years I've been teaching. I just go to the office, turned in, and then they put a receipt in my box. I didn't know we had checks and balances. So this is something that I learned with the fringe benefits, with the programming of how we collect money for the bookkeepers, and just about how teacher units in general work, as far as how many students you get based on the prior year. So it was definitely eye-opening for me. When I saw that our budget at Continuous Learning Center was $32,000 to spend, I was very shocked. So that brings you into the aspect of you have to raise money to bring any supplies in. Most of that $32,000 goes for just the copier machines. So without a lot of students, it's hard to raise fundraising money for doing snacks and other activities. Well, going into my action research, this is something we've been doing here for 2 years now, and I wanted to show you different data. And the school is Continuous Learning Center in which I work, and this is where I've done some of my administrative work, and it's been a huge success doing positive behavior intervention support. To tell you a little bit about the school to start out with, 100% of the students do CLCs special ed, 98% are on free reduced lunch, 91% are below proficiency in math, 89% of the students had 3 or more acts of physical aggression to get here, 87% of the staff or the students are males, 82 are below proficiency of reading, and 0, when I did this, which was 2 years ago, took the data, passed the X exam in math or reading here at the school. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the positive behavior intervention support. What is it? It's a way for the students to get rewarded for doing what they should do, and also have intervention programs out there for behaviors such as doing contracts, coming up with their own ideas. This is what I did wrong, this should be my consequence, trying to make them accountable for their behavior. Why do we need it? Well, all the students here are here for either aggression, drugs, or other mishaps. This is an alternative school, so we have to have discipline so learning can go on. Does it work? Well, you're about to see in the presentation how many referrals we have dropped in the past 4 years since we've implemented this. I've spearheaded this because I've done this before at other schools. PBS is what it was called then. So you'll get to hear about and see the data that's actually shown up, and we have new administration this year, so it's worked well. How do we do it? Well, you'll find out in the presentation. What is it? Positive Behavior Intervention Support. PBIS utilizes a behavior-based system approach comprised of 3 essential elements. The system, overall, how we do it, and then the data. We have to have data to see if something's working, and that's what we're going to tell you about in the practices. Now, the practices come from 80% of our teachers have to be on board. They all have to be able to keep up. Since we do not have a lot of students in each classroom, the numbers are between like 6 and 10 per classroom. What we do is they have something called Review 360. And with Review 360, they keep up with behavior points on if the students follow directions, if they listen, if they do other things correctly. Okay, so What is it? Is a framework for establishing the social culture and behavior support needed for a school to be an effective learning environment. And like I said earlier, without behavior being controlled, we can't go, teachers can't learn anything. What are the expected outcomes? Reduced discipline referrals. This is when we first talked about the action plan. I wrote it up, and this is what I want to do. Reduce discipline referrals, reduce suspension and expulsion, increase consistency, morale among staff, support and infrastructure to improve relationship between homeschool and community stakeholders. And the reason I mention this is because this is what we do all the time. This includes all the standards, me being able to get out in the community, talk to stakeholders. We want productive citizens, having meetings with families, and to be able to run a well-organized school. Now, being proactive, predictable, positive learning environment. So how that works is we are already on top of things. So when students come in the morning, we want to have a positive rapport, and we talk to the students so we never having a bad day. Predictable. Everything, we keep the rules very simple. We let them know what we expect from them, and we also keep a monitor on how things are run, such as we walk students to the restroom. We do everything beforehand. We already think ahead of what can go wrong. Supportive, successful intervention for students. So how that is, if a student starts going into crisis mode or starts having an outbreak, we'll go ahead and call a counselor, or we'll call special service counselors through Alta Point and Bay Point for them to talk to. If the student gets even further out of hand, we might, if they have a probation officer, have them come up here, check on them. Little things that we can do. They'll sit down and be with me as far as if they need to do a contract because their behavior's out of line. That we might do a contract and say, hey, for every time I do something good, I might get this. Or if every time I do something bad, this might happen to me. And that's what we like to do, let the students pick what the good and the bad things are. Now, when we talk about all this on Fridays, we have what we call RAM Room, since we're the CLC Rams. And with RAM Room, kids who make 80% or higher on their behavior get to go to a special place for an hour. They get to play pool, play video games, get nachos. So that's an incentive for them to work on their behavior. Now, looking at this is also like an RTI model at a normal school, is what I like to call. 80% of the students, they do what they're supposed to. That is the green area. And then the 15% sometimes get in trouble. They just need a little help, which could be retract or just a parent conference. And then you have your 5% who are your repeat offenders doing things wrong, and they need serious intervention, which could be counseling, therapy sessions, contracts, other high-risk behavior wards. They might even have to have the parents come in and follow them around class. These are the type of students who we want to focus on the most. Keep the 15%, moving down to the 80% is what we do, and then the 5%, we do lots of intervention with them, pulling them out, talking to them, making sure everything's going well. We do mentor-mentee programs with them. So this is how we try to help with the behavior aspect. Alright, so what is positive behavior support? It's based on understanding why problems behavior occur. We don't just say you're bad because that's how you grew up. We don't say this is the way it is. For every behavior and action, there's a reason. And our job is to get to the main reason and find out what the need is. It could be students' medications, it could be they're hungry, it could have been they didn't sleep, it could be a lot of different things why students act out. And that's what it's our job to find that out. We just can't pass the buck and go to the next teacher and say, oh, this person acted out, I did nothing about it. Well, that's not being a team player. Why do we need positive behavior support? Well, problem behavior is the single most common reason why students are removed from school and classroom. With how the way things are going now, we have to have student attendance. We have to have students at school. So suspension is not really an option as much as it used to be. So we have to address that in a different way. Students can't learn when they're not at school. They're at home, They're just playing around on the streets, causing more problems for the community. So it is our job to keep them in school and do the best we can while they're in school. Problem behavior continues to be the primary reason why individuals in our society are excluded from school, home, recreation, community, and work. And we can't change how parents think. We can try, we can bring them in, we can try to educate them, but it is not our overall goal to change the parents. The child knows when they come through those walls that they have an opportunity. And with that opportunity, we hope they seize that opportunity and go back to their base school and be productive citizens and learn. Now, the old school ways of harsh punishment and zero tolerance policies have not been effective either way. You remember a couple of years ago, the school systems came in, they were suspending kids for having the wrong socks, the wrong uniform violations for little things, and they found out a lot of those the students couldn't afford them. The students were at home, suspended, and they were not learning. So what we're trying to do is change that. The zero tolerance policy, we're trying to work with you, we're trying to help you, we're trying to get you through that crisis. And even if it's a behavior plan, we want that student to be able to, by the end of the time, 45 days they're here at CLC, work through that behavior plan and know what's going on and actually develop it and keep up with all the data themselves so they can see, I'm about to go into crisis, this is what I need to do before this happens. Why do we need positive behavior support? 3 years after being excluded from school, almost 7% of these youth have been arrested. Now, these are not pictures of anybody at the continuous learning center, they're just pictures, but it's true. If you're on the streets, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing. Without education, you're not having a productive job. Positive behavior support provides a positive, effective alternative to traditional discipline methods. We have the students be proactive. Now, with this, we also go in mind as every student is a leader. It might not be in the reading class or the math class, that everybody can do something good, and it is our job to make sure we can find that. So making sure leaders are all around us in the schools, that's what we want to do. If the student's good at this, we shine on that. If the student needs help on this, we help them with that, but we find what they're good at. It could be drawing, it could be art. We want students to be successful in whatever they do so they can be successful in life. This is just a little, since we're 100% special ed, the Positive Behavior Support Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and they advocate for us. We are trying to help their students. We're not trying to throw them out, throw them to the wolves and say, hey, you're 19 or you're 21, it's time for you to go out on your way. No, we don't want to do that. How do we do this? I got myself 3 who are on I call it my team. And my team is, if we have a crisis or behavior situation, we go in there, monitor the situation, handle that. My team determines discipline as far as the school. The hardest thing was to secure administrator support. I had to send people and myself to special trainings in San Diego for positive behavior and other places just so we knew what we were doing and how to implement it, and getting a commitment from at least 80% of the staff. Now, why do I say that's hard? Teachers who have been teaching 20, 21, 22 years, change is hard for a lot of them because they are always like, this is my classroom, this is the way it is, I'm not budging. But we did have almost 98% of the teachers do what they needed to every week by putting points in Review 360. And then we conduct self-assessments, regularly collect data and analyze the data to make sure what we're doing is right and correct, and make sure we don't need to tweak something, which we always tweak things to make it better. Real classroom rules: be respectful, responsible, and resourceful. That's what we're doing at Continuous Learning Center. That's the rules in every class, in every location. Next. Alright, this is just a 4-year comparison of discipline when I came on. So this past year, which would be 2014, we had 24 discipline referrals with students having to be suspended. The year before that, which these all years I was here, 69 discipline referrals, because that was when we started with positive behavior support, when I started with Jacksonville State. Previous 163, 449, and 456 discipline referrals. That is our crazy numbers, because with us being proactive and handling situations, the students did not have to be suspended, and we could keep them in the classroom learning. Attendance. Having students at school makes a huge difference. 2014, 88% of the students were here at school. 2013, 81. 2012, 79. 2011, 78. 2010, 81.6. 2009, 75.5. If you look at the trend, it is going up. Students are being at school because, one, they're not suspended, and they're happy that they're learning. And when students learn, they want to be at school. Get rid of the behavior, we can have a productive day, and then they see rewards for themselves that they can earn. Focus on career development and exploration. With the help of my supervisors and the principals, we came up. We have cosmetology here at the Continuous Learning Center. We have woodworking. Even though I'm the PE teacher at the time, I also work in greenhouse, and we teach kids how to grow plants. We've done a lot more virtual field trips with rewards, with working with people in the community. Educational field experiences, we've gone to different things that they've never got to go to. The IMAX Theater, the Mobile Museum, so it's been wonderful. These are just a few pictures of our students at CLC going on some of those field trips that we put in there. And who would have thought students that are expelled or kicked out of school, them going to these programs and learning has been a huge success for us. I do appreciate it, and thank you for having me here today. And any questions?